so freaking good, and I think that's a byproduct of the environment for them improving over time. And yeah, I mean, some of these players are really scary.
Yeah, they really are. Like, it is cool to see this scene, which has had a lot of support, still has, you know, a lot of active players, and just seeing them all pushing and doing well. It's very cool to see. So let's get this one started in the bottom left from Dragon Kaiser Gaming. Now, Red Protoss, it is Jieshi.
And in the top right hand side, his opponent for Invictus Gaming, XY.
And just as we get this one started, I was meant to mention that GSL is, of course, on,
Ooh.
guys, if you want to check that out on the Afrika TV YouTube or on Afrika TV itself. GSL Round of 8 Group B is currently in its winners match, I believe. So, well, we got a little overlap. We want to show some love to GSL. We're not going to try and steal all them GSL viewers, right? So, yeah, go give GSL a watch. Get your double monitors in action. And, yeah, obviously some cool games over there. You were saying you were watching earlier, Kat, some fun games, right?
Yeah, Solar versus Bunny was a really sick series, and then Dark versus Beyond was turning out to be a pretty good one as well. But yeah, unfortunately, I was watching on YouTube, which means there's like a screen.
You got the chains.
In the screen. Yeah, I got the chains. So yeah, definitely recommend going to Afrika for that, I suppose. As XY is gonna start us off with a proxy, very spicy.
Not just any proxy, man. He's gonna go barracks and the factory. So really going for a little bit of everything here. Cool. I'm kind of down for it, honestly. I mean, why the heck not? Let's just go all out crazy to start the day. XY drops down a reactor, factory on the way up, and this is one of those things which is, you know, very powerful when Jieshi doesn't scout, which is exactly what he's doing. So I gotta say that this is an amazing build choice, and if he just knows Jieshi doesn't scout, then this is going to work perfectly. He's going to get so much aggression, and Jieshi is going to be absolutely blind to it.
Yeah, this is the type of thing where you scout your opponent on the ladder or their last few matches, you find the pattern, you see that they don't scout in the matchup, and this is the punish that he's prepared, quite obviously, right? So Starport will also go down on location, and this is more likely than not be Hellions or Widow Mines, I imagine. Given the gas, I would imagine Widow Mine drop, but it's actually going to be Hellions. Very cool.
Yeah, I guess use that gas, maybe Hellions into like a follow-up siege tank or so the gas bank does have value a bit further down the line, perhaps. Definitely, like you say, pretty cool. And this Adept coming across the map is about to realize, hey, there's no expansion. Then he's going to see a full wall off, so he's not going to get any confirmation of what's in the base. Immediately then, you have to be very worried as Jieshi, and heading into Twilight Council, not something that immediately helps you defend these types of attacks either. It's actually 2 Hellions into now a Widow Mine drop, so you're onto something, Cats, looking at that gas.
Okay, this is very interesting. The Hellions are gonna run in through the front, so not really waiting for the Widow Mines, just utilizing the very fast timing that they have by virtue of being proxied. Gonna get two probes already, and another couple of probes here in the main. And what's nice about this is if you're Jieshi, you're taking damage that you don't want to take this early on. So it's going to be more difficult for him to make the decision to invest into further defenses for something like a Widow Mine follow-up.
Yeah, it's just going to be that kind of knock-on effect of you've taken some damage, now dealing with the next damage is going to be that much more difficult. Armory on the way too, by the way, so you're going to need detection to deal with these mines once they're burrowed, which there is a robo on the way up, but forcing an observer out, it's just that added effect, and it has potential to do more. I would have liked to see the medevac actually come and pick the other 2 Widow Mines up, but apparently they were going to walk into the front, so that's going to be an experience, the Adept chasing them, but there's going to be the drop in the main base as well, so Jieshi just has to be ready everywhere, and XY just going to start forcing probes to go all over the place. Oh no!
Yeah, I completely agree with you. I think that given that he has the armory, especially just getting the Widow Mines inside, which now he does by rerouting the medevac back to them, is more valuable, and the fastest way to that was just loading all of them and then hitting the main and then the natural. So he'll get to it, and this is still very annoying for Jieshi, but he will have the observer popping up. Not before the Widow Mines get another shot off, though.
Yeah, obviously, the one on the low ground will go down pretty quickly, but the 2 in the main base should get a chance to fire again as we drop in. We get burrowed. It's going to be a decent connection. No, we actually do lose it. He retargeted it, which maybe would have been a good call if it had got a shot off anyways. Medevac still full HP. That's quite important to note because the Thor is coming in. The Medevac's what's going to be able to micro that Thor around. So the Thor attack now coming up as the follow-up to this, and obviously killing the battery is the first step here. As this Thor drops down and we get ready to punch some damage in.
Yeah, very interesting to go for the front and the battery here, where you know it's the fortified position as opposed to the back. He really wants to make use of these Marines and kind of elongate this push to try and end the game rather than doing damage with the Thor as early as possible. And Jieshi has done a pretty good job so far. That blink forward to try and pick off the medevac that now gets repaired. And with the Liberator here, XY looking very powerful at the front.
Yeah, the Liberator is a massive addition. Just having that way to hold the front a bit more stably. And now a Siege Tank showing up too. Yeah, this is getting nasty, man. I mean, this is the sort of point where you're like, oh, an Immortal's nice, but is an Immortal going to make a difference where it really counts? Now if you lose this pylon, that's depowering the Robo as well. No. That's huge. We've got a blink in. And, well, I don't mind the blink, and I think it's the right call as the tank survives a couple more shots. The Thor is still untouched, though, and already 12 probes are dead, and it looks as though XY is just doing too much here. We're trying to repower that Robo. Maybe if we can get an Immortal out, we can get a little bit excited about things, but I'm not convinced still about that, Cats. We're actually going to start targeting down the pylon again, so it just doesn't look like it's going to happen. Robo will not get online.
Wow.
A new super battery, but it's off to the side, and that just gets targeted as well, and the SCVs just keep on repairing the medevac. They may finally go down. Nope, the Stalkers keep dropping and having to blink away, so they take too much damage as well. And this Thor tank attack is going to get it done. XY not messing around to start off the day.
Wow, what a cool strategy by him. And it was so very close, actually. If that Immortal had popped up in time, it looks like Jieshi definitely holds, right? Because it was so very close in spite of that. But yeah, XY, I mean, closing it out. And yeah, what an amazing strat. What a good punish.
Great punish. I love it, man. That was a really fun way to start. Obviously, just Jieshi not scouting kind of puts him off a little bit. Then the Hellions and the Mines. It's just that knock-on effect, right? The cascading avalanche of, oh, one thing went a bit wrong, then the next thing is going to hence go a little bit wrong as well, and it just keeps on going that way. And obviously, that's the issue get into. A 1-0 lead, and, you know, an important match for these guys. I think a winnable match for both of them, first of all, and then obviously they're both 1-1, so it makes a difference of, in the next day or two, whether they're going to be fighting to advance to playoffs, or to stay alive in the tournament at all. So, yeah, big difference there as we will ready ourselves up into Dragon Scales Cats for map number 2. This map's seen a little bit more play in TVP lately. It started out as one which I thought kind of got vetoed a lot, but Protoss players have kind of let it come through a little bit more, even though it's a short map and good tank positions.
Yeah, I mean, your options are kind of limited. There's a few of these maps that can be insane with the tank positionings. So, yeah, the Protoss seem to have let Dragon Scales into the rotation a little bit more often than not. But, man, I mean, that game was pretty interesting, definitely, to start. And XY looking very strong. I was talking to Nice earlier on his stream. I just popped to say I really enjoyed his games yesterday. He lost, but he had some really cool moments in losing, and it felt like if he had just cleaned up his gameplay, he would have been able to take them. And he was saying he feels even more confident against Oliveira. He called him Time, but he said, I feel more confident against Time than against Firefly or Jieshi in the PvP. So he was really hyping up his peers, and it really goes to show just the level of this Chinese region, if you will, right? So. Yeah. Impressive that XY is another contender that can put up a great fight and even beat some of these up-and-comers that are so highly regarded by their peers.
Yeah, no, absolutely. It's it has been just fascinating to see this region be one, which is just so freaking like we say, like just it's full of hype, it's full of love, it's full of just, you know, it's got support to kind of grow the players, I think, specifically. So these players are still playing. And it has probably the most similarities to, like, Europe, right? Where, yeah, you've got your Oliveira and so on, maybe up at the top, but then you've got so many contenders down below that it really is a good scrap, and it really is just a very enjoyable region to keep our eyes on and to enjoy. So, yeah, love this region. It's been very fun to cover, and especially, I think, benefiting a little bit from the merge, because obviously China before was 8 players, and then Taiwan was 8, but now you merged it into, like, 16, plus you add in Oceania, and everything, and suddenly you've got, like, you know, just adding Nice in there, for example, and Mio Micah in there, adding that little bit of top layer competition, it just deepens the roster, right, and just makes the entire group that much more interesting.
Absolutely, and I think their approach as well to series and games very different from Europe and America, and more similar to how Korea has done things over time, where they seem to prepare more for the matches and the opponents and have targeted strategies for them and play more mind games, whereas Europeans oftentimes are more concerned with their own game and cleaning it up and kind of like going over the motions, and you know, they're just rock solid players, obviously. But this is like a more tricky region, and I really appreciate those mind games, and I really appreciate the hard counters and the preparation. And in the top left hand, it is for Invictus Gaming XY. besties, Succeed, formerly of Root Gaming. He used to be XYZ.
XYZ.
So just missing. Yeah, that was one of his names. Yeah.
I always liked XY's name because everyone was like, "Hey, is this TY?" I was like, "No." There's a Chinese term play, and they're like, "Why is he using TY's name?" And I'm like, "They're not. It says XY, right? Like, what's this TY about this?" And yeah, it's an interesting little. It happens all the time when I cover XY and cast him, especially like way back when, obviously when TY was active again, right? So yeah, it was just kind of funny.
Didn't he just finish the army too?
What, TY?
That's what I think so, right?
Yeah, he's back.
Or
Just he's not really playing much. He's playing a bit of Brood War, a bit of StarCraft 2.
Oh, nice.
A little bit of StarCraft 2 I've seen of him is not very inspiring. You know, you see players like Stats and Inno coming back, and they've had some decent results, and they have some games at least where it's like, oh wow, like they still have what it takes. They just, you know, they need to shape up a bit, sure, but they've got that core level. TUI did. The games I've seen of TUI just hasn't had that at all. He keeps dying in like 3 minutes, and yeah, it's maybe just a different approach to getting back into it versus a different amount of passion to get back into it, etc. So yeah,
absolutely. I mean, yeah, Classic has recovered very nicely as of late as well, but yeah, I think TY before going to the army was already kind of like, it felt like almost done with being a player and transitioning to casting and just not caring as much, not putting as much effort, right? To where, yeah, obviously if you compound that with the fact that he took the break for the army, it's probably good to lower our expectations for him returning to form.
Yeah, like I say, he's playing some Brood War as well. And I think obviously with the career prize pool situation being where it's at, it's also one of those things where it's like, you know, if you can be very successful in Brood War still, I think you put a bit more priority on that in career. It just kind of naturally makes sense, right?
Yeah, he had a name back in Brood War too, right? I think he was Baby back then.
Yeah.
And yeah, so he's known. He will get the recognition and whatnot, and I'm sure that'll be a welcoming environment for him as well.
Yeah, I would imagine so. Stargate opening here as Jieshi just mixes it up. Obviously, Twilight last time around. He does scout this time, and there is double gas, and this time it is just an expansion from XY, no proxy or anything, but just not the fastest possible expand. One of these that allows you to put on more pressure, and that will be happening here in the form of some Reaper Hellion to start us out. Going to go up to 3 Reapers, likely to get 2 Hellions in total. Sometimes you can go beyond this, then it gets a little bit more extreme, a little bit more costly. And you can see he's going to just stop at 3 and just go into Marine production instead.
Yes, indeed. So, yeah, this almost looks like a TVT opening almost, but he's going to use it here to try to break through the wall if there is one. Just bounce stuff out of place with grenades. There isn't much of a wall off, so he should just have free entry, and I'm surprised that he actually stops to regroup in the middle of the map. The faster, I think, the better for XY if he's going to try to do some damage with it.
You agree, but also there is the Oracle, right? So actually by delaying a couple of moments, the Oracle was going to be more out of position than being able to defend. However, he's really gone like the long way around this, sending these Reapers down the right side now, going to jump those into the main perhaps. And at this point, it seems pretty safe. The Reapers are seen by the Oracle, the Adepts are waiting on the natural, they're very aware of the Hellion follow-up possibility, and yeah, I mean, this was just well defended by Jieshi, and I think XY overcomplicating things. Could have had actually a lot more if he was just kind of just obvious and just ran up the front and just went for it in a much more boring manner.
Or even if he had pre-split, if this was his plan from the start, he could have just sent the Reapers right away to the side, right? Instead of going to the middle together and then deciding to kind of like a bunch here and a bunch there. Like, it makes sense, obviously, to use the Reaper's ability to jump up the cliff and create a little bit more chaos inside of the main, but yeah, it needed to be a little bit more decisive, needed to know what he wanted to do a little bit preemptively rather than just on the fly.
Yeah, absolutely. As Cyclone gets the lock onto the Oracle, and then a Viking, another Cyclone gets the kill, so that is a nice catch, at least from XY, who is coming with quite the army supply. Now, what are we at right now? 3 gateways. We need to get some warp ins off here from Jieshi just to start securing himself, as we actually have no blink on these Stalkers, so one of these should die to the Cyclone. So they were just way too far forward, and now we're going to lose one Stalker. Another one's going to be pretty low. The Cyclone probably could have pulled back sooner, but even still, a good little push on the way. We do have maybe a few too many units here at the front, though, in the Super Battery especially. And now we can actually chase down those Marines. Viking into the main will try and get some probes, but it is going to be the Terran honestly losing out on quite a lot, using the Cyclone, the Viking defensively as well. I mean, just a bit of chaos, honestly. Everything going on right now.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, the Viking can be rather nasty against probes. It will two-shot those, and it fires rather quickly. So now we'll evacuate, but after forcing a recall, all in all, not a bad trade for Jieshi, who ends up holding whilst retaining his third. And yeah, like you said, I feel like that one Cyclone kind of overextended right after getting the first Stalker. No need to continue to push on forward, and Jieshi holds.
And holds in a great position. 13 worker lead for Jieshi is obviously a pretty huge disparity in workers. You're used to seeing the Protoss ahead a little bit because the Terran has mules, but I don't think 2 mules make up for like 13 workers of difference. That might be a little bit too extreme. So, not feeling great right now about the position here of XY, but we'll see what he can do. He does have a couple tanks up to try and keep him safe in these upcoming moments. Stalkers are going to try and do something, but as they walk in, they should realize pretty quickly this is not somewhere they want to be. And we do finally lose one Stalker, a couple of them very low for later on, though.
Yes, indeed. So that's going to mean that Jieshi doesn't really want to overcommit with his Stalkers, doesn't want to really blink anywhere else. Not that he has high ground vision or anything else to apply more pressure. And he really doesn't need to, so just stay back, regenerate your shields. Now he goes quickly into the storm, so he has a plan moving forward into the game. And it's kind of an XY to try and do something, because he doesn't have a third CC on the way. And there is a third already operational for Jieshi with that very good worker advantage. So XY has to hit a timing and just try to kill him with it.
Yep. Yeah, exactly. Just gotta go and do something aggressive, right? Basically, you're looking ahead and aggressively and not into the future, more or less. Because your future is very much so limited to just one big attack. As upgrades finish, you get the extra couple of racks online. The problem is the Protoss is already going to have so much tech in play. Storm is going to be done. Charge is going to be done. You know, Jieshi's already on his way to a 4th base. That's how late the 2-base timing is here of XY. And honestly, how ineffective I think it's going to be. Because I don't even hate that Jieshi's taking a 4th, because I think he's going to survive even with it. So, we'll see what XY can do. He will have a surge of army supply, but I am far from convinced that it's going to be enough to overrule this game and to take a 2-0 in the series.
Now, very difficult to imagine. If Jieshi just had a sentry and could confirm what's going on, yeah, maybe he wouldn't drop that 4th in favor of more just warpins and whatnot. I don't really see how XY is going to make this work. Maybe if there's a Warp Prism with all of the Templars in it and the Raven gets its Interference Matrix onto it or something like that, but there isn't even that option because there is no Warp Prism, and that's almost better in the sense that, yeah, I don't see the win condition without a move like that just removes a chunk of the army for Jieshi, who's gonna go meet up XY in the middle of the map before he sieges. Let's see if this is gonna be enough. The storms are good, and the Zealots on the side, yeah, this is a slaughter.
Yep, Zealots jumping in very quickly. The tank's not getting, the chance to pre-siege. The feedback on the Raven pretty quickly. Interference Matrix to single High Templar is just not really enough, right? A couple support and storms were plentiful, and Jieshi absolutely winning out here. And even if he doesn't win with this push forward right now, which he probably will, but just in case he didn't, it's kind of fine anyway, right? Because XY is still only on 2 bases, and Jieshi will absolutely outmass him given time. So it does look as though this is going to be Jieshi pushing through and winning out in game number 2 to tie us up and take us to game 3 of our very first series today. Couple quick games, couple aggressive games, and one going XY's favor, one not quite so much. This one is absolutely going to end in a few moments. Just get rid of this Liberator, and there is the GGs, and there is Jieshi going to tie it up. And like I say, take us to that final map of our opening match today.
Yeah, and what's scary for XY here is that this was kind of like the standard game, more or less, right? Like the game where neither player did any trickery in the early game so much. So you could argue that XY opening with those Reapers and Hellions and them not paying off at all could have been, a factor that could have contributed to a smoother mid game for him. But all in all, I mean, Jieshi just looking very, very solid.
Yes, no, he genuinely just looked good, right? I mean, he was very good about, what was going on. I loved the unit positioning initially, and I do feel like XY overcomplicated things and made his own attack maybe not show up when it should have done, but even then I felt as though looking at it, I was like, okay, I actually feel as though Jieshi was in pretty good standing to be able to deal with it anyways. A couple of depths on the low ground, one in the main base. Obviously, the Oracle would have been out of position perhaps, but I think he would have had a decent go of it. So, yeah, we'll see what happens on Ancient Cistern, which will be our final map of this opening TVP of the day, XY and Jieshi. And if I'm XY, I'm kind of thinking, well, what other kind of super aggressive builds do I have in my pocket? Because this game really just didn't do anything at all.
Yeah, I mean, Jieshi again didn't scout, I think, the last game, right? So maybe XY goes back to that, to some trickery, trying to abuse the lack of scouting. Because, yeah, I mean, I completely understand punishing on the first game and then not doing it on the second game, perhaps understanding or expecting that your opponent will look for it, right? Will be more alert and adapt. But Jieshi, again, I don't remember seeing a probe scout early on, so maybe XY can revise his pattern and go back for that. Or did he?
I think he did see.
Oh, okay, okay.
He saw at some point. I'm not sure when, but he definitely saw that it was at least double gas and a wall off. Because I remember checking. So he did scout at some point, but it might have been a bit later still. As everyone's ready, they're waiting for us to say ready as well. But we're always ready. Someday our admins will learn.
Ready.
Yeah. Someday the admins will realize we're just always ready. Apart from sometimes at the very start of a series, we need an extra moment, but we're generally almost ready.
Hells yeah.
Hells yeah. That's what they say. All right, counting down. Ancient Cistern, map number 3. First match of the day here in Asia, going the distance. I actually was looking at the matches, cats, and obviously as the Swiss, matches continue, we generally expect to see more and more closer series. But I really was thinking today could be a day of like a lot of like 2-1s. Like there could be a lot of games today. I just feel like there's a lot of close matches, a lot of names, which I look at each other and say, yeah, I could see either of them taking that, and hence it's not unreasonable to think of a game 3. So yeah, just more more reason to be excited for the day. As in the bottom left, our Blue Terran. Let's see what kind of crazy he comes up with this time. It's XY.
And his opponent for Dragon Kaisi Gaming, the team that has evolved like 5 times, it is Jieshi. They keep merging and evolving.
Well, originally it was meant to be just Kaisi Gaming, and then the 2 owners couldn't decide on which players they thought were best, and they decided to make 2 different teams because they had, they were like, hey, I can make a better team than you can. So then they made Dragon...
Really?
Yeah. So they couldn't decide on which players were best, so they were like, right, I'm going to make Dragon Phoenix Gaming. So then and that's why they've been, in WTL, they're like rivals. It's always like the last match of the season and stuff, and, they always play like a show match sometimes and stuff like. If there's going to be a show match, it's those 2. So there's a lot of hype between it in China. And obviously, as they started to drop players and stuff, and there was just less players available, they finally decided that they could agree to just merge, and I would say Dark Hero and Oliveira is a pretty good set of players. So
yeah, for sure. Wow, I didn't know that. That's so interesting. That's so cool.
Yeah, the Chinese teams and stories are actually really insane. There's like a lot of things which is very difficult to know about unless you like really heavily follow the scene. But they have a lot of like fun stories and like fun memes and stuff. So yeah, that's the one thing the Chinese scene does very well.
That's good. That's good. And yeah, I like their new logo as well. It's a little convoluted. Like there's a lot going on, but it's cool. Like it looks cool, right?
Yeah, I like it.
And
have you seen the WTL intro this season? Actually, like the intro video.
I have not.
So basically, it's like Proxy Stargate down from Jieshi. Basically, like the intro is just like it goes through every team's logo, like swiping through them, like like epic zoom in and zoom out or something. And then obviously with Dragon Kaisi Gaming, it has the 2 old logos, and they do like an Archon morph into Dragon Kaisi Gaming.
Really?
Yeah, it was actually like really
so
sick.
Cool.
Yeah, I thought it was really
That's so cool. They're like the final boss.
Yeah, I actually think so. It's yeah, really sick. But yeah, Proxy
That's
Stargate.
amazing. Yeah, very interesting. So this time around, it's Jieshi kind of mixing it up, which is cool to see because, again, he looked like the stronger player in the last game. It was XY who seemed to need the antics in his favor going to try and sneak a win out of Jieshi. So this is cool because I find, in my experience, whenever going up against a player that I feel is more solid, the onus is on me to make something happen. But the other option is I'll play super greedy, right? Because you expect if the other player seems to be confident or feels confident or they just beat you in a macro game, that they wouldn't resort to this sort of tactic in order to beat you. But that just makes the tactics all the more powerful, right? Because then you're not expecting it and the player is, probably favored regardless. So yeah, this Oracle's gonna do amazing.
Yep, and you're just the favorite player taking control early. You put things into kind of your own hands as, that real mine!
No. Oh, big mistake.
I wonder if he just assumed he had killed it, actually.
Yeah, because if you look at the Oracle, it shifted to the SCV right after the Widow Mine burrowed. So I think he shift-clicked and went to do something else.
Yeah, that was just a little bit unlucky because obviously this Oracle was at the point of being uncontested. Now, there is an Adept holding Marines in the low ground, and as the second Oracle shows up, there's 4 Marines in the main. That's probably just about enough. We're going to go fight the low ground instead and go for more Marines, but shaving off Marines is good and all, but you've put a pretty big investment on this proxy Stargate, and, you know, 1 Oracle's dead too. If I'm the Terran, I don't really hate the fact I'm losing Marines, because I know there's no immediate follow-up here that's going to be super scary beyond these Oracles. You know, it's not like Blink is around the corner. You know, we're a good way off from that, so, you know, losing Marines, yeah, maybe takes away some of my aggressive pushing, but I'm definitely not worried, like, oh, I don't have the DPS to deal with the attack that's about to hit me, so I kind of look at this and think, yeah, if I'm XY, I'm kind of fine with how this went. Just 1 Oracle down in itself is a pretty big win.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that Oracle, like you said, was very close to just ending the game. If it kills the Widowmine, it kills the next SCV and probably another 2 or 3 SCVs after that, and then you have 2 Oracles to work with, and things can just snowball out of control. I do like from Jieshi that he made 1 single Phoenix here to perhaps try to account for the Cyclone, as the Stargate is most likely to be forfeit. It's also going to give him some air control against medevacs and drops and whatnot in moments to come. So nice that he gets that extra little value out of the Stargate before he has to basically forfeit it.
Yeah, and against the Raven, right, which nowadays is such a annoyance from Terran players. You know, Terrans almost always get a Raven because it's cheaper, it's quicker to build, it's a great unit to have. As this Oracle is just going to give itself up. That probably could have made a better attempt of getting away, but we'll go down. But yeah, I do like the Phoenix for everything you said, and, you know, Raven is just kind of part of that in the same vein. Stalkers will come out, and actually these Marines are dead, man. They cannot get away from these Stalkers, so XY, this is a misjudgment from his part. And now he's going to lose a lot of Marines ahead of Blink actually being finished, and the chance for Jieshi to maybe find some damage if there's not enough units back at home defending.
Yeah, this could have been much worse for XY if he decided, oh, I'm going to try to save those Marines and moves out with the Cyclone or something like that, and then Blink finishes, right? So at least he only loses those Marines, but I'm completely with you. I mean, just a very, very hopeful to try and move out with that small amount of DPS to try and kill a Stargate that, quite frankly, doesn't need any killing. Just, you know, like, he's not going to use it anymore. It's just too risky to use, and it has to be abandoned anyway. So, yeah, a little bit sketch there from XY, as now Jieshi takes a third, and this is definitely the sloppiest game on both ends that we've seen in the series.
Yeah, it definitely has been a little bit of a mess. Yeah, just why hit the Stargate for so long? Like, do you think Jieshi's really planning his entire game around this Stargate proxy staying alive? Like, that's a bit ridiculous on its own account, and maybe he just believed because the Oracles were dead he had the chance, but yeah, I think just a misjudgment, and well, Raven is finally going to make its move out, but there is still the Phoenix that's patrolling up on the top side, so it's unlikely this Raven sees too much usage, or at least too much positive usage. It will get across the map, but like we said, I'm not sure if it will necessarily do all that great.
Yeah, I mean, it might just end up suiciding, which is the worst case scenario. This is a pretty expensive unit, a unit that requires a tech lab on your starport, so the time to produce is also something that you would struggle to go back to, because you usually go back to medevac production after the fact. So yeah, it's painful to lose this Raven, and he will lose it. Maybe he can get an auto turret or 2 to zone off the Phoenix, or better yet, kill a probe or 2, but that's gonna be about it.
Interference matrix so that you can survive long enough to drop an auto turret, and that's our game plan, man.
Yeah.
That was an interaction. That was something for sure. Huh.
It was cute.
Yeah.
But yeah, even when he gets to the middle line, he's just a cannon there. And he can't even drop the auto turret in a good position to be threatening, right? So it's just the saddest Raven of all time.
That's why I decided to go and finish off the Stargate. That was a little bit low from earlier. This time he does not get punished for doing so. As back at home, though, I mean, Jieshi is just sitting on Storm, High Templar's Charge. I love his setup. It looks good to me. And while there is a good army supply out from XY, there's the tech in the game for Jieshi to survive a big fight if that's what it comes down to. And we are going to see XY starting to move forward with now his reinforcements as well. So it looks as though he will at least adventure across the map and see what the opportunities are, see if there is an opening to fight. But yeah, we'll see if Jieshi can deal with that defense. I think he honestly is set up to be able to. Getting the Prism now as well, his own upgrades continuing. And in fact, XY decided he didn't even want to really go across. He was just going to, you know, think about it, but in the end comes back, defends his third, and is just going to send a Widowmine drop to try and deal some worker damage.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, he would have had 5 medevacs at that point in time if he decided to move out, but I think he's just waiting for the ghosts. I would still kind of like to see something attempted here from XY, but instead it's Jieshi that's moving across the map with an army that doesn't fare well against Widow Mines, but luckily for him, 4 of those are in the medevac. One is in the middle of the map, and one just got picked off. So 6 Widow Mines out of the equation for this many Zealots could end up biting XY in the ass.
Yeah, it really could. Let's see what the Widow Mines do at least, and they do. Oh, well, this one will go for 3 only. Feels like actually a bit of a shame considering how much was there. There's double cannon here to defend too, and that means that these won't do much. We had a single storm going down on the other side, but yeah, the Widow Mines really just getting absolutely shut down. Cannon placement was perfect to shut that down, and yeah, Jieshi is now able to fully focus on his offense and this attack, and like you said, with less Widow Mines here, this army's that much better.
It is that much better. Oh, but the Ghost gets trapped actually by the bio, and it will get shut down right away. This opens up headway into the natural base for Jieshi with the storms to zone out the rest of the army. XY does very well to just push a few Marauders forward to absorb the first few storms, but now the rest of the army comes, and I mean, they'll get zoned off by the storms, but quite frankly, they weren't the best storms in the world either.
Yeah, this was a little bit of everything. The extra warping really necessary here to just help out against these last few units. And now it's only really Marauders in the tank on this right side. Zealots should fare pretty well against this running through. I think they'll be fine. There's just not the DPS to take Zealots down quickly enough. And we're going to pull SCVs to help as well, but that's never a great sign. And now we get the chance to warp in yet again off that prism. There was definitely a few moments where it looked as though I felt as though XY had done enough to hold, and there wasn't much left for Jieshi, but these extra few warp-ins are making a difference. Some more mines coming out, trying to get burrowed up in a good place. The last few Zealots starting to go down, but XY, of course, on top of all of this, has lost a lot of workers, and he's actually down 40 workers in total in this game now. And it looks as though it is indeed just Jieshi with a bit too much. Hops into the main to keep causing chaos with the Zealots, and is going to find himself, again, a chance to just do a little bit more, keeping his prism alive as well.
Yeah, that is the big deal, is the workers, right? 21 have gone down, and Jieshi was already pulling ahead just by virtue of producing more workers and going up to 4 bases as quickly as he likes to do. So, yeah, I quite frankly wasn't expecting this attack to work as well as it did, just because Jieshi was lagging behind in army supply, but 6 mines out of the equation, and that is kind of like the best possible piece that you could have in your army against that many Zealots. In fact, yesterday we were watching in the Chinese region also Nice against Oliveira, and it was very similar army compositions, but the mines were burrowed, they were in place, and I mean, every Zealot just died so quickly that it just didn't feel like it was much of a fight. Instead here, without those mines, them crossing the map and killing like something like 3 SCVs, -1 medevac, -6 mines, and the attack succeeds.
Here we go, yeah, she just powers up to go again. Of course, without the SCV count, you just can't realistically stay and fight against a new round of units. That was a fantastic EMP, pretty much as good as it gets, but without Storm, I don't even think it matters. I think Jieshi still has plenty to move on through with, and he does. GG's. Jieshi is winning our first series.